Okay, let's just do injury bits and pieces. So, anything picked up yesterday that's going to cause problems for Boxing Day?
No, and I know you'll ask about Naki, so Naki's been out on the grass, feels okay today, so hopefully if he responds right we can get him back in the group training Christmas Day, but again you have to see how he responds to the work he's done today, so nothing from yesterday and hopefully Naki closer.
Okay, which is definitely good news. And in terms of someone like a George Tanner, is he at a level where you could put him in, or are you still being a little bit cautious about that?
No, George could do some minutes. I think naturally when you've been out for a little while and you come back, of course you have to be a little cautious, but you also trust in the work that the boys do to get back fit as well. They do a lot of conditioning work, so George will come into contention. It's then just obviously a case of, as we've got so many games coming up, what does that look like? You can't go from playing no minutes for 6-7 weeks to all of a sudden doing 90 in the space of a week. So they're the bits that we have to look at, but I mean ultimately for me everything goes into trying to pick a team to win on Boxing Day.
Naki in particular, obviously you have to wait and see, but with the options that you've got there, Sinclair I'm assuming is still a little bit away.
Yeah, things are still a couple of weeks away. It's not a major one, but with someone that explosive and that powerful, you have to be a little bit careful. So he's out on the grass doing little bits, but yeah, building up as opposed to doing any high speed work.
And I guess at a time when goals have been harder to come by than you would like, that focus is going to be on that part of the team to find that right combination, and you can only choose them if they're available.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's better than what it was last season, but it's still not where we wanted to get it to. I think that's the bit, but we're not alone in that. I think if you look across the division, I know West Brom, we obviously played yesterday, had a similar issue, and have obviously done a bit better recently. And I think it's very much that. It's about understanding where we're at, where we're going, and the journey that we're going to go on to get there. And keeping our heads down and working, I think that's the bit we're creating a lot more than what we did last year. So that's progress in itself. It's now, being more clinical, converting, more chances when you get them. You can't create as many as we have and not score more goals. But you don't go from, whoever it might be, scoring 3, 4, 5 goals in a season to scoring 15, 20. It doesn't happen too often. You have to gradually build that up, which people are doing. So we have to just keep working at it and putting pressure on people to deliver, and the staff behind the scenes keep working with the players.
I suppose certainly over the course of this season so far, I would say that there's been that improvement. You can see there is a development, but the bottom line is you're still in the same position that the club were in last year, and that's I think part of the frustration for a lot of fans, that it might be improving in little ways, but where it really matters, it's the same place in the table.
Yeah, there's no giving right in doing something, in terms of playoffs. I know everybody talks about, but when was that, last happening? I think that's the biggest bit. There's no giving right for any team to get in there. I think it's understanding how do you get there, and like I said, we big transition in the summer with the group. Just because we've performed well for 4 months, we've probably set an expectation because of the performance level, but it doesn't mean you've got a given right to go and win the games. I think that's the bit that we're working hard at the minute. We're improving at. I think if you look at it, the consistency in the performance is there now, which couldn't be said for last season. So again, that's the bit that. Everybody wants everything instantly and now, and I understand that. We're in that industry. I want it now. I'd love it now, as everybody would. But I also understand, the journey we're going on. It's about, when I first came in, I remember talking around building, and that when you look at it, the group's in a better place. We're improving. We're not where we want to be. We want to be higher. We want to have more points, and probably the performances at times have merited that. But you also have to understand, we're working with, a group of players that are all in on everything that we're doing, that are still developing, that still need work, that still need time, and unfortunately need to suck up some, challenging experiences to become better and go out the other side.
And certainly in that attacking area of the team, Naki aside, there's a lot of potential, but there's not a lot of experience in there. When they do have a difficult time like they have in the last few weeks in terms of scoring goals, that potentially can hit them a little bit harder. That psychological side is important.
Yeah, of course, massively. When we're not in that position, if you want to go and buy 2-3 proven players at the level is 20-30 million. You only have to look at other clubs that have done it in our league, and we're not in a position to do that, and it's not what I signed up for. So we're quite clear what we've got is really good potential, some exciting players, and again it's about continuously working. And again, I could name a few of them that are definitely getting better. It's just the speed we want them to do is obviously now rather than over time, but you can't put a time frame on it because if you could, you'd be an extremely wealthy person. I think you have to understand the process you have to go through, and that some of that is the psychological aspect of, look, you're getting in the areas. you weren't getting any areas last year. Now you're getting in the areas and you're having the opportunities and the chances. You now need to go from, you've gone from scoring 1 in 8 to 1 in 4 or 5. Now it needs to become 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 if we really want to compete top end of the table. So they're the bits that's the biggest bit that the reassurance. There's so much work that goes on behind the scenes with the players. Funny enough, someone said, "Why don't you do more shooting?" Which, funnily enough, we do it every single day in every single practice in team sessions, unit sessions, individual work. It is a constant thing that we work on because it's the hardest part of the game. So the work's there. It's then a case of making sure that, like I said, we have to become more clinical with the opportunities that we do create.
And as a group that you've got at the moment, obviously that might change slightly in January, but you're confident that there's more than just the potential to get there, that this lot will get there whenever that happens to be, in terms of being properly competitive at the top end of the table.
Yeah, I believe in the group we've got. And again, it doesn't mean along the way there won't be tweaks and changes, because again, I think that if you want to, that's why we talk about building. I think that's where we've ultimately had one window really. The January one's a difficult one to do anything in. So when you look at the turnaround in the summer and what we've added and where we've added, it does take a little bit of time. And again, I think taking the club on a journey, I think everyone talks around top. There's no given right to be at the top end of the table. That expectation, that entitlement shouldn't be there, because we haven't. So again, it's something that we're working hard every single day to try and make happen. And that doesn't happen overnight. As much as everybody would love it to, me personally, it doesn't happen. It's hard graft and achieving a level of consistency which we have. So for me, it doesn't change. We have to make sure when we have dominated games that we do a better job of turning that domination into wins.
January's obviously around the corner. I know recruitment is an ongoing thing, and often it's down to what's available. Do you imagine many ins and outs? Do you think it's going to be a quiet January, or would you like to add a player or two?
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a huge amount, to be fair. I think there might be the odd one or two go out, but I don't think there'll be a huge amount coming in, to be honest. I think we obviously did a lot in the summer, and again, when these things are timings, people come in, it takes a little bit of time to settle. So I'm really pleased with the group we've got now. I think we've got depth, we've got options. We've got people that over the course of the season will get better. We spoke this morning about it actually. I remember the tough period last season where we was it 4 out of 5 losses, where every doom and gloom was there, me included. But we trusted in the work we did, and we obviously finished as strong as we did. So I think that's the bit for me when I look at it. We're after Boxing Day, we're halfway through the season. We've still got to play everybody above us again, and we've shown we can compete. It's now about how do we, in those games, how do we, become a bit more streetwise, a bit more mature in how we manage games, and make sure that we turn some good performances into wins.
And a question I've been meaning to ask for a couple of weeks and forgotten, so it's on me. But you've got some good youngsters out getting decent experience. Whether it's Seb up in Scotland, you've got a league or two down. Has there been any thought of? Well, I'm sure you're in constant contact with them and how they're going, but is there any thought of bringing any of them back, or are you happy that they're going to stay and continue their education where they are?
Yeah, no, there's definitely the possibility that some might come back. Me and Brian are constantly chatting about that, to be fair, and we've had a look at, and that's why when I talk about building things, it's not just the now, it is the what does it look like January, what does it look like next summer, and that's constant in terms of, trying to change something, like I said, and achieve something that hasn't been done. So again, I think it's bits where we're in constant contact with the players, we watch their games, watch their clips. We review there. It's now in our Monday morning meetings where recruitment lads will fill us in on what happened with the loan players at the weekend. And then there's definitely the scope to bring some back and have a look in January and see where they're at, and obviously give them the potential to push to get in here.
Just finally on Boxing Day, very interesting game. I think a lot of people would have expected Luton to be there or thereabouts. Hasn't quite happened for them. It kind of shows, what can happen from an amazing couple of years to, football can turn very quickly, can't it?
Indeed, and that's what we're talking around the consistency. I think that's why you mustn't ever take it for granted. I think, Rob's a good coach who's done a terrific job there. They played some good stuff last year in the Premier League. They've managed to keep a large number of them. So, I'm sure they'll find their way at some point soon, when you look at how they've been performing. So it's another tough game. I think, we're quite clear on that. Say every single week, you only got to look at across the division to see, how tight the league is, but also, the results at weekends, how they can turn so quickly. So for me, it's making sure that we do everything we can to, go and win on Boxing Day.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you mentioned that difficult run last season and the strong finish. Obviously, before that Leicester game, the game before was actually a 2-0 defeat to West Brom, and then there was a break and you bounced back really strongly. having that sort of experience help coming into a game like Boxing Day?
Yeah, of course. I think we have to use those experiences, definitely. I think we've had some, we've had quite a few this year, which, again, different learning experiences, which is it's a different group this year, so we can use the ones. I always get a little bit conscious about talking about last season because we have got so many new faces, so we can relate on it as we can with certain games this season. Derby, we responded after that, and we have to make sure we do that again. I think that's the biggest bit is, stay true to us, the way we work, what we believe in, and go and put it right on Boxing Day.
So I know yesterday you mentioned you've not had the consecutive good results, but to be fair, the other way, you've not really ever let a big bad result get on top of you at the next game.
Yeah, and that's it. I think every game's a cup final for me. I think that's the mindset we have to have. I think, you go into a cup final, you try and picture what you'd look like. The energy would be positive, everyone would go above and beyond what they have to do. The togetherness would be there, and that you have to try and replicate that every week. Which when you go so quickly, everyone was hugely disappointed. And yesterday, you can't carry that hangover into Boxing Day because you'll end up in a not a great frame of mind. So we have to use that experience to go right. Of course, it has to hurt, but then we have to quickly move on. Lads are in today, work this morning, and we have to make sure that we get ready to go.
Carlos Corban yesterday mentioned he was quite frustrated about the game being played on Sunday with Boxing Day games. I just wondered what you thought about that schedule with that reduced time to prepare for Boxing Day.
Yeah, you'll see it in the next 2 weeks, right? I think you'll hear every head coach, manager moan about the schedule. I think it is what it is. It's the history of the game in England, so I'm not gonna moan about it. My only thing, I remember I was playing Birmingham last season. I think you get to a stage where the quality of the game suffers, the product suffers, just because of the lads are flat out. We put so many demands on them now with the volume of games that naturally you get towards the end of a heavy period, and the quality, the intensity, the zip, that side of it tends to suffer a bit. But I think the difference for us this year to last year, we've got depth, we've got options, we can change things, we can freshen things up, and that's a bit we're going to need the whole squad especially the next 2 weeks. And when people play, they need to be ready to step up.
Just on that, we heard a few weeks ago that Mark Sykes and Carl Naismith were both back on the grass. Just wondered how they're getting on with their recovery.
Yeah, much closer. They're out again today, so I'm hoping to see them back in team training soon. So they're definitely moving in the right direction.
Obviously, bodies is useful, but two quite experienced players as well with busy period. That could be a massive boost having their experience back. Yeah,
definitely. Naisy with his voice, but Sykesy with his. Disappointed for Sykesy because I really thought he'd hit a bit of form, coming on away at Swansea, and then obviously a couple of games after that, I thought he'd really hit a level where he was showing what he's capable of, and I was looking forward to some, producing some really high level moments. I was disappointed for us as a team, but also for him personally because he was doing well. So I'm sure he'll come back hungry to hit that level.
There was a bit of talk from the fans yesterday about Scott Twine playing off the left a bit more than in that number 10 role. I know when he joined, you mentioned. I think it was on loan last season. You mentioned he was playing on the left at Hull, and it maybe didn't get the best out of him. When he's playing in that role, do you view him as a left winger, or is he still a 10 in that system? Do you think?
Yeah, he's only on the left out of possession. Even yesterday, if you look at him, most of the areas he takes up is inside the pitch. So, which is different. If you look at Anis first half, Anis is playing wide, whereas Twine is inside. We received a few in and around that sort of their D when we had a 10-minute spell where we passed it reasonably well. So Twine is one of those you have to give him areas to get him the ball, and you have to give him an element of freedom to create and express himself. And again, that's our job and his job to make sure that we do that.
And we spoke about Fally yesterday. I know you said you really felt he led the line quite well. Do you think with games going quick and fast, that opportunity to play minute after minute after minute, is that only going to help accelerate his development? Obviously, he's quite a stop-start to his career here.
Yeah, I think it'll help. I think it'll help in terms of him getting more minutes, definitely. But I also think he's now better equipped to deal with the minutes. I think, if you'd thrown him in and just given him the minutes when you hadn't done the work on the training ground and the video work and tried to correct some of the bits, I think he would have probably gone the other way where he wasn't quite ready for what the team needed him to do. Whereas now, like I said, I saw yesterday, he's just in a much better place, I think, in terms of staying focused and a bit more proactive and understanding what his job is rather than, things happening around him. I think he's actually more focused on the game. So again, I think he's in a better spot. Doesn't mean he's cracked it. We've cracked it. He did some good bits yesterday, but in terms of still lots to work on. So again, I think it's one of those we just have to be a little bit patient with him. And that's us as a group of staff. I think it's the fan base as well. I think it like everything as well, that everybody wants everything instantly. You know, and Amazon order doesn't come within a day or two, and everybody's, you know, losing the plot. And that's where the world's gone. And I think that, you know, we have to understand that we're working towards something here. We're definitely moving in the right direction. Fally will be a big part of it, as will, you know, a lot of the other lads, and we have to keep pushing.
Just finally for me, Harry Cornick wasn't in the squad yesterday. Was that a selection call, just a selection call, or like a fitness call, just selection? Obviously, you've spoken about quite openly about the conversations you had in the summer. With January around the corner, is he someone that you could see still being a Bristol City player after January, or would you expect him to move on? His minutes have been limited this season.
Yeah, I've had a chat with Corns, and Corns it's tough because Corns is such a top person, but also a top professional. And I know he would have been frustrated at not getting minutes, but we had that chat in the summer that might be the case. And I can't commend him enough for how he's conducted himself. We had another chat the other day, and with January coming up, you know, I'm sure he'll want to explore options, as you know, we'll allow him to. So we've had those chats with Corns, but like I said, it's always harder when you've got someone that's such a good person and pro. But yeah, we'll have to see how that pans out.